Okay, this is lecture 2. So the other day we started by left clicking on part. You can also click on new. When you click on new, it gives you the opportunity to use an English or a metric. So click on metric, you see some other choices, but we're going to use English, and we're going to use a standard IPT, and we're going to create. Just wait a few minutes. This is the part we're going to draw. It comes from chapter 2. These are the dimensions. So I'm going to do this. And when I first start out, I'm in the model environment. When I'm ready to get started, left click on Start Sketch. And I'm going to start on the XY plane. And I always want to reference my first part to the origin. So I'm going to left click on line. I'm going to left click as soon as I see that green dot. And I'm going to draw this. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it without dimensions, but I am going to pick up my constraints so you can see it snapping horizontal, vertical, or perpendicular. And then I'm going to go up, make that line straight, come over here. If it weren't for this heavy dark line here, you'd probably see a tracking line down to here. So then I'm done with that, so I'm going to do right click, OK, and then I'm going to start putting in some dimensions. This one's 2.5. You see it throws it way out there when I put in a dimension. This one's 2.5. Usually a good idea if you can kind of draw it approximately to dimension, see how kind of weird it looks when I put in my dimensions, so it'll be fixed. So we've got an L shape, we've got a dimension, we've got it fully constrained as it indicates at the bottom. Right click, finish sketch. I'm going to give it thickness, extrude. It picks a profile for me. I can go forward, backward, symmetrical, but it really doesn't matter in this case. And it goes 2.5. So now I'm ready with that. I got an angle shape. I want to start another sketch. On the top surface here, I'm going to draw another L shape. I'm going to draw it off the part, and then I'm going to bring it over to the part by giving it dimensions that will tie it to the other side. I'm going to intentionally make that not parallel with the other line. If you can see that little tracking line, you can see I'm picking up a tracking line for the end of that line. Right click, OK, put in some dimensions, 2.5, and that one's 2.5. And then we got 0.75. This one is 0.75. And I want this line to be parallel to that one, so I'm going to use a parallel constraint and pick those two lines, so I make this parallel. Now, see, I'm still in the parallel constraint, but if I left click on dimension, it takes me out of that command and into dimension. So now I'm going to tie it in to this edge, so I give it a dimension of 0, and I want to tie this in to that, and then I'm going to make that 0. So now everything is fully constrained. So I'm going to right click, finish sketch. I'm going to extrude to give that a thickness. See the difference between the grays? It changes the shade of gray once I choose the profile. I want it to go the other way. And I also want it to join, which that's the default here, so it picked that. Click OK. And one thing that's brought out in the PowerPoint, and if your computer doesn't do this, you can see the setting, but you notice when I was drawing a sketch that I had an opportunity to adjust my dimensions if I wanted to. So the way you correct that setting is you go to Tools, Applications Options, go to Sketch. Right here, Heads Up Display, you want that check to be on. Now I'm going to uncheck it just to show you what that does when it's not on. Click Close. Now I'm going to toggle back on the 3D Modeling tab, or I can toggle on the Sketch tab. They both have Start 2D Sketch on them. Click on that, click this surface so I could put my hole in there. Draw a circle. See, no option to put the diameter in there. And then I'm going to dimension it from this edge. Well, it did give me at that time, let's see, 1.25. And then this edge and this edge, 0.75. And the diameter of my circle is 0.75. I'm going to take a look at that. Tools, Application Options again, under Sketch. Maybe I have to do that at the beginning of the sketch. But anyway, I'm going to turn it back on, click Apply and Close, and then I'm going to click back on the 3D model. I am still, a lot of these are grayed out, so I believe I'm still in the sketch environment. I'm going to right click Finish Sketch, and then I'm going to start a new sketch on this. I'm sorry. I'm going to get out of that. No. I'm going to extrude. Forgot about that. That surface, and I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to use all. Click OK. Now I'm going to start a sketch on this surface for that little, for the chamfer. So for the chamfer, I can't do one line and cut it. I actually have to have a closed profile. Use the line command here. I'm going to extend it, and I'm going to type in a 1. And then over here, instead of trying to find the 45, I'm just going to do it at any angle. And then I'm going to dimension this from here to here to be 45. And then I'm going to draw a line from here to here. And then I'm going to use Trim. I'm just going to click the part that I want to trim. So now I can right click Finish Sketch, and then I can extrude that, and I want to do a cut, and I'm going to use 2 next. That way, if I change thicknesses of either of these 2 parts, that this will still go until it gets to another part. Click OK. Now, if I did that wrong, I could go over here to that extrusion, right click, edit feature, and then I could change it if I wanted to. I could also right click, edit sketch, and then maybe if some of these dimensions were incorrect, or if I thought that I needed a dimension for this side, you see it says it'll over constrain, but I can click accept, and then that dimension is there, but it does have parentheses around it. That's okay. It just lets me know that that is 1 by 1 by 45 degrees. Right click, Finish Sketch, and there's my finished part. File, Save As, and then save it to your let's see, I think I've already got an adjuster. Make it adjuster, adjuster 3. Okay, I got another one. And here are the dimensions. Page 20 of the PowerPoint. So I'm going to X out of this one. And then I'm going to start a new one. And of course, it gives me the same thing I just used before, English IPT. That's what I want to do. So again, I'm in the model environment. Start sketch. Again, I'm going to use the XY plane. What you want to do is you want to try to pick a busy profile. So, you know, if I pick this back side, well, that's just a rectangle. So this is a little more complicated. So I can actually make this shape and then give it thickness, and then I'll have the majority of my work done. So, line command, I am going to snap to my origin, and I'm going to go ahead and give a dimension for this first line. So I can change my zoom function so that it's zoomed out a little bit more. And then my next one is an angle, and then that's a different angle. And then I've got a straight side, and then I go down some, and then I go back to this line. And I think I'll make that one crooked too on purpose, and then finish up that. Right click, OK to finish. Now I want that line to be horizontal. So I'm going to click on horizontal and then click on that line, and then it straightens that out. Put some dimensions in here. This one is 1.25. This one from here to here is 1.75. Then here to here is 0.75, and then from this point to that point is 1.5, and then this angle from here to here is 25, and then this one from here to here is 60. So that's finished. It says fully constrained at the bottom right hand corner. So right click, finish sketch, zoom out. Now I'm going to extrude and give it thickness. And since join is about the only thing that you could do with the part that I have drawn at the moment, 1.5. Now I'm going to put a hole in it, start a sketch on the front side, and then draw my circle. See, now it's giving me an option of typing in my dimension for my circle, 0.75. And then I'm going to start dimensioning. A while ago, it didn't give me the option of putting my diameter in there. And dimension from here to here, 0.75. Right click, finish sketch, and then extrude. Choose that circle. I want it to be a cut, and I'm going to choose all. And if I want to see if it went all the way through, choose my orbit around and look at it. Right click OK to get out of that, and then I need to cut this rectangular shape out. Start a sketch on here, rectangle. Now I'm not dimensioning that as I go because I'm going to dimension it from here to here, quarter, and I didn't want to have to subtract the 1.5 depth and then subtract a quarter and a quarter, so I just put the 1/4 inch dimension on here. I want it to be equal to that one. So you see when I move my mouse over there, I get a hand. I'm going to point to that dimension. Inventor assigns names or labels to every dimension, so evidently that dimension is called D14. So I can click OK, and you see that's fixed. And if I were to change this one, then it would change the other one. So undo that. So I want it to stay at a 1/4, and I'm going to do one more dimension from here to here. This other dimension of the other end, even though it says one dimension needed, that really doesn't matter because we're going to do a cut within a 1/4 inch of the bottom. So as long as we're outside the part, we will be fine on that one. Right click, finish sketch, and then use extrude, do a cut, and 1.75 minus that 1/4 inch, and then I've got a 1/4 inch all the way around. That's going to give me a 1/4 inch wall thickness, so that is 1.5 inches. and then select OK, and I'm finished with the part. So I'm going to do File, Save As, and then that one is a guide block. And I'm just going to glance through here the PowerPoint to be sure I gave you everything. We used, let me go back to a sketch. Go back to my original sketch. Right click, edit sketch. You see this one, we use trim when we're talking about our chamfer, but if I draw a line, let's say from here to here, right click, OK, and I want to extend it, and I use extend, and I just point to the inner. I just point to the end of that, and it will keep extending it, I guess, even without boundaries, because it extended that again. Right click, OK, then trim. You see, a lot friendlier than AutoCAD. You don't have to worry about having a boundary first. So I'm going to take that line out using delete, and I'm going to right click finish sketch, because I didn't change anything in that. I just wanted to be sure that I talked about trim and extend. Looking at sketch, you know, you've got your constrain toolbar. If let me get back into a sketch mode. Right click, edit sketch. If you needed to use one of these constraints to restrain your part, you can. If you just hesitate around one, it'll tell you what they're for. If you're curious about a dimension being left out, you know, it says one dimension needed. You could left click on that, and it says you need one dimension. You could click on apply, done, and you just see it just added a dimension for the length of that. A lot of times the dimension is not where you want it. Let's say, for example, I just prepare myself for possible changes. I might want to dimension this to the end of the part. And I might always want that to be outside the part. So this way, no matter what I change my part to, the cutout will still be correct. So let's right click finish sketch, and then just for the heck of it, I'm going back to my first extrusion and my first sketch, edit sketch, and I'm going to change this to like 5 inches. Makes my part look funny, but right click finish sketch, and just show you that because I used that dimension for that rectangle as going beyond the end of my part, then it still cut it within 1/4 inch of the bottom. Okay. So I'm going to go back to sketch 1, right click, edit sketch, change that back, 3.75. There you go. Right click, finish sketch. Okay, so that's it. The labs are at the end of the chapter. I've labeled all the labs first with the chapter number. So this one's chapter 2, and it's the first one, so it's 2-1, 2-2, and 2-3. I did 2-3 for you all, 4 already, and that one's not required. These are pretty simple, so practice with those.